Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, wherever you are, and welcome everyone to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's great to be with you this evening, and I want to salute you wherever you are. Good day to you. And let me say hi to Nerlene Richardson Haywood, cuz great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Sylvia DuPont, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Wherever you are, I want to encourage you, share this conversation with others, and let's have a great time together. I am looking forward for this time with you. And so, wherever you are, just share it with someone. Let them know that Conversations with Dr. Els is on. I know that right now we are running around the same time wherever you are now in the United States, in North America. It is 6:36 according to my time. In the Caribbean is now the same time, so we are another hour behind. So we are having Conversations with Dr. Els at 6:30. All right, so great having you guys locked on. Maria, Julian, as usual, great have you. Eugenia Kamabach, great have you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Today, the world pauses to recognize International Women's Day, and I want to take a moment on this live to honor the incredible woman, you incredible woman who show up here consistently week after week as much as you possibly can. I want to say to you, happy International Women's Day. Women, you women who care deeply about family, about faith, about growth, and about healthy relationships. You care about Conversations with Dr. Els, and so I want to wish you, I want to acknowledge you this evening. All all right. I see many of you who are regularly on Conversations with Dr. Els. Again, women like Maria Julian, Eugenia Kamabach, Nerline, Sylvia. You guys are constantly on Conversations with Dr. Els. And so I want to pause and wish you a happy International Women's Day, and so many others who are usually engaging. So many of you who share your wisdom in the comments as we share on different topics, and share the things that you care about. Care about building strong family. Care about things in the world, and so I want to take this time to just wish you a happy International Women's Day. Kudos to you. You have been doing a great job. And while the world pauses today, I want to wish you that happy International Women's Day. And I also want to point out there are so many many persons, so many women who have shaped my life over the years, and I want to thank God for women. I want to thank God for you. From my mother right up, who God has used to bring me into this world. I want to thank God for her. Even though she has passed, I really want to give God thanks for the woman, the kind of woman she was in terms of bringing me into this world and the training. I want to just recognize some people. I'm sure Curtis Thomas is on. Curtis is going to agree with me and join with me as we celebrate and recognize you great women. I see Juliet Murray. Happy International Women's Day to you. And I know it was your birthday, so is it today or yesterday? But happy birthday. So I thank God. Women has played a very, very important part in the life of the family, the life of the church, the life of the nation, the life of the school. As a matter of fact, if I recall, most of my teachers in school, my education, were women from kindergarten right up. They were women, and so I thank God for the women who has really helped to shape my life. And I know some you out there, you can say the same. All right, I thank God for my late wife, who have enabled me with three wonderful children, and two of them are now adults, but they're still children, but you thank God for that. I also thank God so much for my lovely wife, who has been and is still there with us, loving me in spite of my flaws, and taking care of me and taking care of the family. She's just the best, and I want to thank God for her. So I really do appreciate the woman in my life, and the woman who played a very significant role. I think of when I think of women in education who have shaped my life, I think of persons like my secondary school principal, but she was actually my secondary school and also a primary school principal. That is Miss Hermina Scott. And those of you from St. Vincent might know her. She's played a very important part in my life. I think of my kindergarten teacher, Marlene. I thank God for her, and I could call so many names: Miss Mason, Miss Douglas, Miss. There are so many names: Mrs. Rollins and Mrs. Scrub, and so many persons, so many of these ladies in education who has really played a significant role. And I'm not talking about teachers who just taught me, but teachers who looked out for me, who cared enough to go beyond just teaching maths and English and geography. Miss Dublin, Pamela Cox. They thought just more. They thought more than just maths and geography and English and all of that. And they cared, when you're going wrong. They're the teachers who would say to you, hey, look at what you're doing. And so I really, really want to take this time to say kudos to them. There are some people in my spiritual life, some women in my spiritual life that I also want to say kudos to. They may not be here, but I just want to shout them out. I think of people like Diane Duncan. I think of people like Dion Fraser. Well, she wasn't Fraser then, but she's now married Fraser. I think of Bernice Mason. I think of my friend Joy Davis. I know she's married now, and these women are doing great job and have been a very supportive in my life, in my spiritual life. And so I thank God for women like that. I raised up in a town called Barley in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It wasn't the easiest town, but it was a very beautiful town, and you had people who looked out for you. And so I thank God for persons like that in my life, both spiritual and also educational. I think of persons who have really made an indelible impression on my life. And so to all you women, I want to say again a happy International Women's Day. Not only persons, women in my spiritual life or in my educational life, but there are women that I have met along the way, whether it's socially, whether it's work wise, whether they are just friends. I know I have some that I call sisters, and they've really played a part in my life, or I may have met them in some area or the other, and they have left an indelible impression on my life. I think of Pastor Heather Crutch. I think of Mrs. Shelley Ann Bonady. I think of people like that. They made an impression upon my life. And as the world celebrates International Women's Day, I take this time to salute you women. You have been the backbone in some case of your in some case in your family. You have been the mother and the father in some cases. You have been the provider, the breadwinner. And so tonight, I want to do two things as I'm celebrating the strength and the influence of women, right? And second, I want to share a few insights from my upcoming book, Drip Free Marriage, that speak directly to women and to relationships. So this first part of the conversation, I'm just saying kudos to you women who have made an indelible impression on my life. To you women who have served, you have served in many areas. I say Yvonne Waldron, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Even you think of women in business, and it is said that in the world of work especially, women has to fight twice as hard as men, right? But there are women who stood out there and they fought, and they really took care of things to put food on the table. I know women who would support their family no matter what. And so I want to say really, really thanks to you women. You have done well. I see Arlene Bond, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. That's a woman who, when I took my kids to dental clinic, she took care of them. She took care of us, make sure that we are seen. And so I want to say hi, Arlene, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els, and to all of you, a happy International Women's Day. And so if I miss you, it's really not by intention, because it's so much of women who played some part in my life, and I want to say thank you to all of you, wherever you are, whether you're watching this conversation now and you are engaging, or if you do that after. I'm sure, Curtis, you might have some women in your life that you want to shout out and say happy International Women's Day to. I'm giving you that opportunity. You can put their names in the chat and I could shout them out for you. Or even you ladies, if you have someone that you want to shout out, I'm sure that I can do that for you. All right. Let's talk let's have this conversation, right, on the importance of women in marriage and family. The importance of women in marriage and family. You know, I am a strong believer that women are not second-class citizens, all right? And they have a very important role to play when it comes to taking care of the family. You know, one of the most powerful scriptures on relationships is a scripture in, that's my point of view, right? From Proverbs 27 and verse 15, right? And it says, a quarrelsome wife, and this may sound like, you know, I just celebrated women, but now I'm bashing women. Bear with me, stay with me, and you will see where we go with this. But Proverbs 27 and 15 says, a quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof. A quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof. Now, many people read that and they think it's criticism of women, right? But in reality, it's really revealing something deeper. So I want you to stick with me and I want you to share with me in this conversation, right? This scripture, a quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof. I'm gonna pause here because I see Curtis plays some shout out in the chat, and he wants to shout out his wife Merlin. Happy International Women's Day to you, his sisters, and so many more international women in his life, and he's saying to you, happy International Women's Day. Salute to all of you women. We do love you, and we pray that God will continue to bless you. All right, so let's get back to the scripture here. A quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof. Okay, and so I'm saying that many people will read that and think it is a criticism of women, but what it really reveals is something deeper, and what it reveals is that women carry tremendous influence when it comes to the emotional climate of a home, right? And that is a fact. So when we understand that woman plays a very, very important part. And so in the book that I have, I'm talking a bit about it just now, in the book that I have coming out, Drip Free Marriage, it is a metaphor from this passage of scripture that says a dripping, a quarrelsome woman is like a continual dripping on a rainy day. So in my book, I use the metaphor of drips, right? Because most marriages really don't collapse suddenly. Most relationships don't collapse suddenly. I was thinking of this, right? And I'm just remembering, you would hear a woman say, I had enough. And so it's not like it's something one time it happened and they run away. it have been something that has been happening over and over, and they come to the point where they say, I've had enough. So most marriages don't really collapse suddenly. We might hear when they say, I want a divorce or something like that. But there are things that have been happening. They erode slowly through these unattended emotional leaks, or these slow leaks, as I put it, right? And so I really want you to stay with me. But before I continue, let me just say hi to my brother, Evan Bell Farrier. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Okay, so we're going to talk about, there are some of these drips that happen, right, in relationships. And we want to really talk about that. We really want to show how women play an important role in the relationship and in the emotional aspect of the relationship, right? So I want to just share a couple of things with you, right? Because you got to understand, right? And I have this in my book, that women want to be seen. And ladies, you're here, you agree with me, you could give me a thumbs up, a like or so. Women really want to be seen. Let me share something from my upcoming book, okay? Then it's very important as we talk about this. Happy International Women's Day to you, Michelle Dunlop. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. You see, many women are not asking for perfection, right? They really are asking for emotional presence. In other words, what women want is to be seen. They know, they want to know that they are seen. They want to know that they are valued. They want to know that they are not invisible in the relationship. And so guys, men, understand this. Women are not necessarily asking for a perfect husband or a perfect man, but what they're looking for is to be seen. They want to know that you recognize them. They want to know that you are there. Let me pause and say hi to Lennox Denny, Evangelist Lennox Denny. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And let me salute the one and only, my spiritual father. I love him very much. The one who has really poured in a lot of wisdom and guidance into my life from the age of 13 I got saved, but even earlier I want to just salute Dr. Peter Bonady. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. I also see Charlene Peters over there in Trinidad and Tobago. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And at each moment I would pause and just say, especially for those of you ladies who are on, to say Happy International Women's Day to you. All right. So we're saying basically that a woman wants emotional presence. It's not just good for you to be there. It's not just good to say you are doing the work, you're working, you're bringing in the food, the money for the food, you're paying the bills, and you are so busy out there doing all of that, and then you're not paying attention. A woman wants emotional presence. They want to know that you are there. They want to know that they are being seen. They want to know that you notice them. Now, I'm being transparent here. One of the things that I have to work on more, I just got licks for it today again, is to say, and she said, make sure you say it on the live. I love her though. But to remember to always tell my wife how she looks. All right. Sometimes I miss it, but that is because women, they want to be seen. They want to know that you see them. They want to know that you value them. They want to know that they are not invisible in the relationship. All right. So let me pause again and say hi to Anchor. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Yes, it's been a while that you have been here, but great having Canada locked on. My cousin Camilla, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right. So we're talking because we are celebrating our woman this evening on Conversations with Dr. Els. And we're saying that on this International Women's Day, that men need to understand that a woman doesn't necessarily need perfection. They doesn't necessarily need a perfect man, but they need emotional presence. They need affection. They need the reassurance that they're being seen. All right. And so this is very, very important for you to understand that if you have a woman in your life, whether you're married or it's your significant other, you engage or whatever, men, this is my advice to you. Make sure that you notice the love of your life. Make sure you notice that woman, all right? And so that is very important for you to understand. Another thing that I want you to understand is that sometimes, and be careful here, we share here, and remember, you can share in the chat. You can make your comment, and we would read your comment. We don't have a problem with that at all. I'll see it. I'll read your comments and so. But understand this, that sometimes women speak up, right? Sometimes they get maybe overbearing. Sometimes women in marriage, they raise their voice, right? And oftentimes it is misunderstood. Now, hear me. I am very much aware of some women who think that they are the man in the house, or as we say, they wear the pants. We do have some women who are disrespectful, and the Bible talks about women submitting to your husbands and so. But it comes a point in some relationships, and I've spoken to persons, I've counseled persons, I've done premarital counseling, marriage counseling, and such like that. I've been married for a significant amount of time, and so I understand that sometimes a woman may raise her voice, and sometimes it sounds like criticism, or what sounds like criticism, but it's oftentimes that the woman is fighting to keep the connection alive. Now, and I want to be clear again, because I am not advocating for women to make men a doormat. I am not advocating for women to be cursing their man, or to embarrassing their man in public and or in front of the children and all of that stuff. I am not advocating for that. But there are times in relationship when a woman is trying, and they've tried several different things, and they're talking, and the man is not listening, and the time that they raise their voice, if you see that, as a man, I would say, step back and think, why has my wife or my spouse, my significant other, why did she do that? She's not accustomed to do that. Why? All right. And I'm saying, in these times, a wife who raises, a woman who raises her voice may not be attempting to dominate, right? She may be just attempting to be heard before distance grows wider. A woman who wants to keep the connection alive, and she wants to make sure that you're doing good in the relationship, and she's trying to get your attention. And sometimes she takes what I may say, she takes a stand and trying to get you because she loves you. All right, let me just read this comment. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, Evangelist Evangelist says, I'm on with you. I'm enjoying the conversation. A wife really needs a husband who loves, cares, respects, empowers, and values her. She also needs a husband active presence in the everyday activities of family. All right. And so this is conforming from a man who understands that a woman needs presence, right? Oftentimes they're not trying to control the marriage, the relationship, but she's just trying to save the connection. All right. Understand that, and you could read more about it, we could talk more about it, but I want you to understand this. All right, that woman oftentimes, especially if it's a woman who've been trying different ways and they're not accustomed, it's not their norm. So I'm not talking about the woman who the norm for her is to raise her voice or pick up something and throw at the man or keep quarreling in front of the children or in public embarrassing him. I'm not talking about that kind of woman. I'm talking about a woman who really just wants that connection. A woman who wants to keep the marriage alive. Remember what I said earlier, that a relationship don't just break down in one. A marriage, somebody don't just necessarily come and say, I want a divorce just for one thing, right? It is often these little drips of being ignored and drips of not doing the right thing. These little leaks over time destroys the relationship, right? And you have to look for the real danger in the marriage. You have to look for the real danger in the relationship. And one of the greatest dangers in marriage is not hatred. I've come to recognize that. One of the greatest dangers in marriage is not hatred. The real danger in marriage is not conflict. It's really misinterpretation. If you agree with me, give me a thumbs up, a like or so. But, we tend to misinterpret each other, right? And so most marital leaks do not begin with hatred. Of course, you got together because you love each other. You got married because you love each other. And so the marital leaks, the drips that happen from day to day or week to week, it really didn't begin because you hated the man or she hated you, man. It is not because of that. It's oftentimes they begin with a misinterpretation, so that something is said and it is interpreted wrongly. All right. So it is like she asks for closeness, and the man here criticism. So she's like, honey, you never come and spend time with me. And he has stopped working and going out and doing all these things because I need you to stay home. And so he would say, but who is preparing this? Who is getting, look at the house you're living and this nice house and bringing in all the food. And basically what she's just asking for is closeness. Right? And the man hears in that rejection. So you misinterpret, and then that's the leak that we do have in relationship. Or on the man's side, he withdraws to protect himself, because she's nagging or something like that, and he withdraws to protect himself. And the woman misinterprets that, and she hears rejection. And so this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying in relationship. It is these leaks that oftentimes causes the marriage to break down, right? It is these drips that allow the marriage to break down, and therefore you have to pay attention to that. Women may be asking for closeness, and it sounds like they're complaining. And a man might be protecting his dignity, and it may appear as if it is withdrawal, right? And so we have to be careful how we look at that, how we look at these relationships. Let take these little drip, right? These little drips, and work on them, because if you work on them, again, there is the concept that Dr. Bonady really brought to life in my life, the concept of kaizen, which is a Japanese word which talks about being consistent, little by little, growing little by little. And I'm taking that and I'm saying, if we work on these little things day after day, all right, and we will see how our relationships really grow. And it is some of these things, right? Some of these things are why I wrote that book, Drip Free Marriage. Because I recognize that these little things, as the Bible says, the little foxes that spoil the vine, all right? And so that's why I wrote the book Drip Free Marriage, because I've seen many couples who still love each other, but they're slowly drifting apart. I'm sure you could think of some in your own space. You see, because understand this, marriage was not meant to merely survive. Marriage wasn't meant to just, okay, we're getting along. Marriage wasn't meant for that. It was meant to become a shelter, a place of peace. It's a place of knowing, loving each other and knowing each other, a place of strength, a place where you can leave legacy, and so this is very important. And if you really want to learn how to recognize the small leaks before you destroy the covenant, or if you want to know how to repair what has been eroding, I will say to you, when that book comes out, get that book, Drip Free Marriage, all right? If you want to build a marriage that would last, that would actually hold in the midst of the little drips, because what I'm saying is that these things are going to happen. These things, we would misunderstand each other. We will, want connection and such like that. But I'm saying that if you do and you want to really learn more about this, I want to invite you to get this book called Drip Free Marriage. All right, it's coming out soon, and I am looking for you to get that book, because it's gonna be very, very helpful. So you can see that coming soon. Drip Free Marriage. You can get that book, and as I usually do, right? I also want you, if you're dating, or if you're looking for someone, as women, this one I want to also recommend to you. It's a book called These Deadly Dudes, and it was written by Dr. Peter Bonady and myself. I want you to really get that book. This is going to help you to avoid some of the drips. It's easier if you can avoid the drips than to be there and then you have to work on it. So this is a book, These Deadly Dudes, exposing men that make marriage a living hell, so that you can choose wisely. I would encourage you to do that. but also if you are married, if you have a significant other, if you are in a relationship, this book, Drip Free Marriage, is going to help you to really look at the little things in your relationship that is causing the drips, right? The little drips that is really the little leaks that are working in your relationship, because marriages rarely break overnight. They leak slowly, right? And that's what I want you to understand. Right? I want you to understand that marriage really leaks slowly. The little things that we tend to forget, right? That causes the marriage to really break down. We gotta deal with those things. Okay, so as we sort of reflect on what I just said, I'm saying to you guys that in a relationship or in a marriage, that things don't fall apart one time. There are some little things that we need to look at. But hear me, many couples still love each other, but oftentimes they are slowly just drifting apart. Not because of one big crisis, but because of the little drips. Okay? But there's good news. The good news is that these leaks can be found. Right? The good news is that these leaks can be repaired. These little drips, they can be sealed, and the love could flow again. All right. And let me just read this comment. Doc, most women love talking. Therefore, we have to be tolerant and listen to them with attentive eye contact. A wonderful theme as usual. Okay, thank you very much for that comment. But yes, we have to try to spend time listening, and listening is not listening for to respond with an answer or to fix it. Sometimes listening just means that you gotta be quiet and you just have to hear that person out, right? And so I'm saying to you that there are little things that destroys the marriage. There are little things that destroy the relationship. There are little leaks that if we pay attention to them, we can seal those cracks and we can have a wonderful marriage or relationship. And so if you want to learn more how to recognize these small leaks before they destroy the covenant of marriage, I want to invite you to, you could pre-order the Drip Free Marriage, and if you want to pre-order, you can just put in the chat Drip Free. All right, you can just put in the chat Drip Free. My book is coming out soon. I talk about Drip Free Marriage, and you can pre-order that. But I want to say again to you that let's build a proper relationship. Let's build proper marriage. And for some of you, I also want to say you can go to www.dripfreemarriage.com. It's I have a 30-day drip free challenge, right? It's a 30-day email drip free challenge. How that works: once you sign up, you will get an email every day that would give you some little tips of how you can deal with these little leaks, right? So that's www.dripfreemarriage. It's a 30-day challenge, all right, that you can have. And I also want to encourage you can pre-order this book by just typing in the chat drip, or you can wait until it comes out, and it should be out on Amazon soon. And I'm looking forward for you guys. I've already seen some persons in the chat pre-ordering by putting Drip Free. I want to pause and just say hi to Stephanie and Sean Rock. Great having you guys locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. These are some folks who have already started the 30-day drip-free challenge, and I've gotten some feedback that this is really helpful. I've gotten some persons who said, I know a friend who needs it. So maybe it's not for you, but someone who is having challenges in their marriage. All right. You see, Pastor Shaw say, yes, we sign up and working on some areas right now. It's just let me just tell you a bit more. Drip Free Marriage Challenge is a 30-day email challenge that you would have. It sort of surrounds the book. It surrounds some of the things that I'm sharing with you tonight. And really what each day you will get an email, an encouragement. You will get something where it would tell you to work on these little drips that you may not have noticed or may have noticed, and you can work with it. It's a 30-day drip-free challenge. You can go to www.dripfreemarriage.com and you can start that challenge right away. And let me say, you can do it by yourself or you could do it with your spouse. Okay, so that's something you can work on. You could do it by yourself or you could do it with your spouse. I remember one lady said to me, one person can make a significant difference in a marriage. So maybe you will have to start by yourself and you can make that change. So that's the Drip Free Challenge. And again, thank you for all of you who have already pre-ordered Drip Free Marriage book, who have already placed that in the chat. I would reach out to you as soon as we have that coming that out. And again, I also want you to go on Amazon as I share with you the these deadly dudes. I think it's a great book. I know the authors. All right, I know the authors very well, and I know that they are of intellectual and experiential capacity great, and so those are books that you should have. All right, so this evening again, I want to say to all of you, I want to say to you ladies, a happy International Women's Day. And until next week, this has been Conversations with Dr. Els. I know for some of you guys, you're jumping on a little late because the time has changed. 6:30 in North America, 7:30 in the Caribbean, but we are flowing at 6:30. We are back on the same time, so you can get in a little earlier for 6:30, and we can have a conversation going. And I want to encourage you to share this conversation, share this challenge with anyone that you know that need this help. So until then, God bless you. This has been Conversations with Dr. Els. And as I always say, whatever you do this week, make sure you add value to someone's life. Okay? Whatever you do this week, make sure you add value to someone's life. And before I go, if you are in the New York area, if you're in Brooklyn, I want to invite you to Kingdom Life Ministries International. But more so, there is a homeowners seminar symposium that is coming up. I will place the video on my Facebook, but if you're in the area and you don't have a home and you want to know how you can get a home, there's a home buyer symposium. It's going to be a really, really great thing, and so you can be a part of that. Okay, so God bless you, and until next week at the same time, thank you for joining Conversations with Dr. Els. All right.